Long ago, in a quiet place called Shiloh, a special story began, a story about a young boy named Samuel. He was a kind and gentle child who spent his days helping the old priest, Eli, in the house of the Lord. Imagine a peaceful sanctuary, where the soft light from the lamps cast long shadows. Samuel's small hands were always busy. He swept the polished floors until they gleamed, carefully filled the oil lamps that lit the holy place, and made sure every corner was tidy and ready for worship. He did his work with a happy heart, always eager to help. In those days, it was very rare for people to hear the voice of God. It was a time of spiritual quietness. But something truly wonderful was about to happen, something that would change Samuel's life forever and echo through history. God was about to speak, and he had chosen this young, humble boy to be his messenger. This is the story of how a small boy learned to listen to the greatest voice of all. One night, after all their work was done, the temple grew quiet. Eli, who was old and his eyes were dim, went to his room to rest. Samuel also went to his bed, not far from the sacred Ark of the Covenant, where the great lamp of God still burned with a soft, steady flame. The whole world seemed to be asleep, wrapped in a peaceful stillness. Then, out of the silence, a voice called out, clear and gentle, "Samuel." Samuel's eyes snapped open. He thought it must be Eli calling for him. Without a moment's hesitation, he jumped out of his bed, his small feet pattering on the cool stone floor as he ran to Eli's room. Bursting in, he said, "Here I am. You called me." Eli, stirring from his sleep, looked at the boy with kind, tired eyes. He shook his head softly. "I did not call, my son," he said. "Go back and lie down." Confused but obedient, Samuel went back to his bed, pulled his blanket up, and closed his eyes. A few moments later, as he was drifting back to sleep, the voice came again. Just as before, once again, Samuel sprang up, sure that he had heard correctly this time. He hurried back to Eli's bedside. "Here I am," he announced, a little more urgently. "You called me?" Eli looked at the boy, a flicker of puzzlement in his expression. "I did not call you, my son," he repeated patiently. "Lie down again." Samuel, though still confused, did as he was told. He had never heard God's voice before, so he couldn't recognize that it was the Lord speaking to him. He just thought he was trying to be a good helper to Eli. He lay in his bed, listening to the quiet sounds of the night. Then, for a third time, the voice called out his name, "Samuel." This time, Samuel was certain. He ran to Eli's room, his heart beating a little faster. "Here I am, for you did call me," he insisted. As the old priest looked at the earnest young boy standing before him, a realization dawned in his mind. This was no ordinary call. It wasn't his voice Samuel was hearing. It was the Lord. Eli understood that God was trying to speak to the child. So, Eli looked at Samuel with newfound wisdom and gentleness. "Go, lie down again," he instructed, "and if he calls you again, you must say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" Eli knew this was a sacred moment, the beginning of something great for this boy. Samuel, now understanding a little more, went quietly back to his bed. He lay very still, his heart filled with a mix of awe and anticipation. The room was silent, and the lamp glowed softly, its light a comforting presence in the darkness. Then, the Lord came and stood near him, calling as before, but this time with a profound presence that filled the room. "Samuel, Samuel." The boy's heart leaped, but he remembered Eli's words. Taking a deep breath, he answered in a small but clear voice, "Speak, for your servant is listening." He was ready. He had offered his heart to God, and in that holy moment, the Lord began to speak to him. God told Samuel about the important things that were going to happen in Israel. He spoke of Eli's sons, who had not followed God's ways and had brought dishonor to the temple. The Lord revealed that he would bring about a great change, just as he had promised. Samuel listened to every single word, his young mind absorbing the weight and importance of this divine message. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, just as Eli had told him to. The boy who swept floors was now hearing the secrets of the Almighty. When the first rays of morning light streamed through the windows, Samuel rose as usual. He went about his morning tasks, opening the large doors of the house of the Lord to let the new day in. But his heart was heavy with the words he had heard. He was afraid to tell Eli what God had said, because the message was a difficult one for his old master. He worried it would bring Eli great sadness. Soon, Eli called out to him, his voice gentle as always, "Samuel, my son." Samuel came quickly, his heart pounding in his chest. "Here I am," he replied softly. Eli looked at him kindly and asked, "What was it that the Lord said to you? Please, do not hide it from me." He knew the message might be hard, but he needed to hear the truth. He encouraged Samuel to be brave and honest. Taking a deep breath, Samuel told Eli everything. He didn't leave out a single word, recounting the entire message just as the Lord had spoken it to him in the night. He spoke of the judgment that was coming upon Eli's family because of his son's actions. When Samuel finished, a deep silence fell between them. Then Eli, with a heart full of sorrow but also of submission, said quietly, "It is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him." He accepted God's will with humility and grace. As the years went by, Samuel grew from a boy into a young man, and then into a respected leader. God was always with him, guiding his words and his actions. Everything Samuel spoke as a prophet of the Lord came true. His wisdom and connection to God became known throughout the land. From the northern city of Dan to the southern town of Beersheba, all the people of Israel recognized that Samuel was chosen by God to be his prophet. From that first night onward, God often spoke to Samuel, and Samuel, in turn, always listened with an open and obedient heart. He became a bridge between God and the people, a beacon of light in a time of darkness. His story reminds us that God can speak to anyone, no matter how young or small they may seem. It teaches us the incredible power of a listening heart. This beautiful story holds a timeless lesson for all of us, especially for children. God still speaks today, not always in an audible voice, but through His Word, through nature, through the people who love us, and in the quiet whispers of our hearts. Like young Samuel, we can learn to listen. When we open our hearts and say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening," we are showing God our love and our willingness to follow Him. It's an invitation for Him to guide our lives. You are never too young to hear God's voice and to make a difference in the world. All it takes is a humble and listening heart. Thank you so much for joining us for this story. We hope it inspired you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that fill the heart with hope and faith. We love sharing these moments with you. See you next time.